When we spoke to the retailers, and as soon as we approached the retailers, they came to us with only one issue, which they were facing with the other brands, and that was, will you be consistent in supplying to us? That was a very, very big issue with them because there were these huge brands, but they would not, supply the stocks on time, and so there would be a lot of empty shelves lying around, and that was a very big issue. So we decided to address that issue first, and we are very consistent with our supplies. Our shelves are never empty. The retailers are happy. They promote us in every new store that we are opening. Instead, actually, that was our strategy. We decided not to open our own standalone stores, but to be associated with these chains. So what happens is that as soon as we are into one chain, say a lifestyle, if they're opening 100 stores, we are there in 100 stores. So our visibility increases. The brand is, available in all the stores. And we have made them so comfortable with our impeccable service, in terms of stocks, in terms of, the designs that we provide, in terms of the back-end service that we provide, in terms of response, in terms of the customer service that we give to our clients, that they're really happy with it. And so they want us to be there in every store that they open. So that's how, instead of spending, on a print media or something, we're just increasing our visibility by the sheer force of our presence in every retail store.
So I think if I were again to attempt to summarize what at least I've heard, each member of this panel say is, first is, I think, starting off with what is the idea you have and how you're going to express that idea. I think the second thing is just that consistency. It has to be the same experience or a better experience every time. The third thing we heard is, how do you differentiate? I mean, at the end of the day, one can turn around and say, look, a flower is a flower. So, how do you make a flower look different? Well, you don't make the flower look different. You make the arrangement look different. You make the delivery boy look different. You make the whole experience look different. And I think that's a very important lesson. Now, whether you are an individual entrepreneur or running a big company, I think the biggest challenge always is, how do you take sameness out of what you're doing? And I'm sure you experience that as well, Meenakshi, in the work that you do. How do you think about, what is differentiation, especially when you're in the services business?
Yeah, I think it's, that really is the essence of the matter. How do I make what I have to offer different and better than what anybody else has to offer? Because that's where the consumer will come to me and keep coming to me again and again. For me, Vinita, it all starts with understanding who's my consumer and what is it that they are looking for, what is it that other service providers offer them, and how can I actually improve on that service by sometimes walking that extra mile and maybe looking at stuff that may not deliver to me immediate returns today, but is in the long term going to build my business. And that for me is fundamental, that if I have a 1-year perspective, there are a lot of things that I will not do. But if I have a 5-year perspective, there is a hell of a lot that I will do. So again, in terms of, time, differentiation, and focus on what my customer needs. That's fundamental.
Mm. One of the other questions I want to ask each of you is that I'm sure there are some things that you may have tried which did not work. What you've shared with us so far is, we identified the bigger stores are the ones, or, that it wasn't about having a shop, it was about actually having a mechanism where an order could be taken and delivery made. Can you also share with us, all of us, some things that you thought would work, but didn't work the way you thought they would? And then what did you do? Did you drop it? Did you modify it? Did you change it? Did you improve it? How did you deal with that? Anybody can start. Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Well, like I said, when we started with one store and a second store and a little back office, And, I started getting calls and people started actually noticing us. And we started getting calls from across the city, across the country. There was this place from Bangalore where they said, we've seen you in Orbit Mall in Malad, and we'd like to have a similar looking kiosk because it looks very, very international. It looks very global. So we started getting excited, and I started thinking, oh, great, my brand has become really big. And then there was this American gentleman, Paul, who came and said, Smriti, you should have 1,000 stores of these. I mean, these are really interesting. And I said, wow, I mean, this American is telling me that my brand is international. So he says, I'm a part of this Aditya Birla group, and they're starting something in Baroda. I think you should, reach there. And we were really not ready to go out of the city. We just had 2 stores, and, but I was in this thing that my brand is now international brand, and I almost wanted to change my visiting card, which says India Operations, instead of Director. And I said, okay, great. I mean, what is this? It's one of the fanciest thing happening there in Baroda, and you must, the mall is going to be functioning in whatever time. And there was an investment that had to be made, and I really didn't have the money. And we actually took loans, to say that, all right, let's move out of the city, even if it's Baroda, because it was, a very big, situation out there. We went there, we created a structure, we created an interesting looking kiosk, we went and invested in time, people, money, and the sale was almost 0 per day. And I think I did a sale of 5,000 at the first month, which was like shocking. Second month again was about, similar, the third month, and I said something is just not happening. And the gentleman moved out of the organization, he went to UK, and there was nobody that I could talk to. And, when it's a large company, you have these agreements, there's like, I don't know how many page agreement, which I didn't even read. I just read, a few points, and I signed it blindly. And they said, sorry, you cannot, pull out within 3 months. It's an agreement which says you need to be, then you have to pay the rentals of some 30,000 a month. You've got to pay for the next 3 months. I said, I'm like bleeding. I cannot do this. I need to pull out. And I didn't have money to, pay to the lawyers. I had to actually request, plead, and, get in touch with them. Finally, we settled, for an X amount, and we pulled that out. And we didn't have a place to keep that kiosk structure that we spent about $1.5 lakh to create. So that was, I think, the biggest mistake. In fact, I think, fell flat on my face, after that. And I said, let's, concentrate, where you can actually manage your business rather than, moving out by hearsay, what people say. So that was a big learning that, I went through. And then we said, let's not really get into it unless we have our systems in place. Even when we started, we started getting calls for franchising our business because, like I said, we were fairly settled in delivery services, in the product, in the team management. And franchising is something we thought was the best way to grow because you really don't have to manage such a large team. The overheads are really managed by the franchisees. And entrepreneurs and individuals who are interested in starting up their own businesses have a ready-made system. Instead of starting from ground zero, they have ground level 1 to start with. And we can actually offer them that kind of a support. So that is when we decided. And franchising also, mind you, the first franchisee shut down in 3 months because I really did not, get into details of the background of the franchise owner who's going to take up the franchise business. Because when we have planned this business of Florista, where we decided that there has to be a discipline in place, policies, guidelines that need to be followed by every member of the team who's actually Delvin's Plaza, and if it is not followed the same way by a franchise, it just falls flat. So there was a lot of learning now. We've been franchising for the last 3 years, and touch wood, my franchisees have now taken up second stores in their respective cities. So that was a learning there.
I think this also brings out another point, and that is that, experimentation, you have to do a number of things, and some of them will work and some won't. And I think the biggest thing then is to determine when to stop doing something as much as when to start doing something. Would you have, either Meenakshi or Pushpita, your experiences to share along similar lines?
Yeah, actually, when we started the business, we thought that marketing and advertising is all about having glossy ads in glossy magazines. And, it comes at a cost, and a very huge cost, which, we could not afford at, 3-4 years back. We still can't afford it. And, we just went berserk, placing ads in all the fashion magazines and things. And then we realized we're just bleeding money. Are we getting the returns on, are people actually seeing it? Because, when you're going through a fashion magazine, if you're seeing an ad, you just flip through. Are you spending time on actually seeing what's actually written, or you're just seeing the beautiful pictures and just flipping through. But that ad has cost me around a lakh or two, you know. So we did spend a lot, you know, obscene amount of money on print ads, and then we realized that, you know, maybe it's not hitting our customers. So we thought that why not give something for them to read about? So then we changed our strategy. We stuck to the print media, but we decided that let's do some interactive quizzes, contests, and you know, those kind of things where people would at least spend 5 minutes in reading what's there and know about the brand. And then we had some, you know, freebies like, you know, the winners would get a free Murcia bag, so we sponsored 10 bags, which turned out to be really cheaper than spending 2-3 lakhs per month on the print ads. So that was a big learning lesson, you know, through what we had.
Vinita, what I feel is if 50% of my initiatives don't fail, okay, then I'm doing a bad job as an entrepreneur. Because at the end of the day, it's only when you take those steps that you actually realize you are making the effort to take risky decisions. One of the big problems with setting up on your own, and when, you know, the buck stops on your table, is deciding that, you know, business is fine, I'm doing okay, so let me play safe. But if you play safe, you don't grow. So you need those mistakes. You need to make those errors and find that, you know, the greater you, the bigger steps you take, the more mistakes you make, the better you become at avoiding them, or at least minimizing the impact of them. So my own experience is, you know, by all means, go out there, do what looks foolish, because it may pay back at some point of time.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, Vinita, I'd like to add one more point. It's also about visualizing that spending your money now or spending and promoting a particular product or a, you know, or a special occasion now would probably give you results maybe after a couple of years. For example, in retail, we have these special days, you know, where the business just happens. For example, in a business like mine now, India really is not a flower gifting country. It doesn't come naturally to us when we go for lunches and dinners to take, you know, a bunch of flowers and give it to, you know, our hosts. But we've realized that the trend is changing and people are now getting addicted. There are newer players coming into where they're getting addicted to gifting of flowers. Now, we realized in the entire year, we went on to Google and we figured out there are some 8-9 special days. And in this business, Valentine's Day is the, you know, highest money churner, where all my stores do 10 times, 15 times more business than a normal day's sale. And we've realized there are other days that are coming up, and these days just grew over the years, and we never stopped, you know, advertising. We said, stop promoting these days. For example, Women's Day, people would never send flowers on Women's Day. We realized retail doesn't happen on Women's Day, but corporates do send flowers to their women clients. And how do they know that they need to send flowers? Because we would, you know, send some interesting campaign saying, make your women clients happy today, or this is Women's Day. We said Doctor's Day. We approached pharmaceutical companies, and we did get an order from one of the companies, which was a large order for us. So we realized these days were not happening in the last years. It's about identifying that opportunity. Mother's Day. We ran a very, you know, sentimental campaign which says, even moms love flowers. And that really worked. And this year, we had to actually shut down our website and we had to stop the orders because we couldn't, you know, handle more than we could take. Unfortunately, Father's Day didn't have any takers, but Mother's Day did. But I know probably next year onwards, Father's Day also would, you know, happen there. But all these years, we have been promoting these special days through email campaign because that was the cheapest, SMS campaign. Even the SMS script that we write is an interesting script. It's not really a sales pitch. You know, so that's what we've you know, been doing all these years, and it's kind of worked later on.
No, I think, you know, what we're hearing from you know, all our panelists really is, I think it's the ability to continually keep spotting those opportunities. I think, you know, whether it's this day or that day, I think it's the ability to keep sort of you know, increasing the bar on what you're doing. And I think that is what successful marketing is all about. It's about creating that relevance. It's about creating those many opportunities, you know, for the product to be used. And whether you're a large brand or a small brand, whether you're a big company or an individual entrepreneur, I can tell you those fundamentals really don't change. The risk-taking, you know, that large companies have is no different from the risk-taking that individual entrepreneurs have.